So one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she is still on the damage control train. She will do whatever she has to do to protect this movie at all costs, even if it involves calling out Gal Gadot. We have a lot to talk about today when it comes down to the overall grudge between these two actresses.
People are assuming that Rachel and Gal did not get along because obviously Rachel has promoted Free Palestine. Gal obviously is Israeli and is Jewish.
Rumors of bad blood over Rachel Zegler's anti-Israel comments.
Co-stars? Sure. Friends? Not even close.
With Rachel Zegler, yet again, really getting very defensive, not just against the critics, but also against her quote-unquote co-stars, including Gal Gadot.
Rachel Zegler is not doing anything to silence all of those reports, rumors, and online chatter that she and Gal Gadot are beefy.
Basically, not once did they really ever seem friendly or really acknowledge each other.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
I don't need your business.
What an idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea what she's doing.
We hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
And I get it, there's a difference between spoiling and whatever, but to go out and badmouth everybody and talk smack.
Rachel Zegler is still doubling down on damage control for Snow White and is already beginning to attack her co-star Gal Gadot in the most embarrassing way possible.
There has definitely been tension between Snow White leading ladies Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, and they're, quote, not close by any means.
Gal Gadot, whatever.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's Jewish, and apparently this actually, all hell broke loose. Gal started getting threats.
Rachel Zegler, again, we know that she is going to do whatever she has to do to, either indirectly or somewhat even directly now attack Gal Gadot.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
There were definitely some clues at the scaled-back No Reporters Allowed premiere. They posed separately, and Disney released just this one smiling pic that did its best to convey a message of no controversy here.
And now, with another what seems like PR stunt to desperately try to convince people that these two are in it together, it seems to have backfired.
She's trying to make herself as a better actress than Gal Gadot. That's really what it sounds like to me. I don't know about you guys. She keeps calling her incompetent, unprofessional, bringing on personal problems on set.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
I did not like Snow White. The reason why is that the actress that plays Snow White, she acts like a bitch all the time.
I don't need your business.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
Laughing stock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
They had her tweet out like a little, yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her. And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, good job, Rachel. And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, and never forget, Free Palestine.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot didn't even look at each other while presenting at Oscars amid feud. And this is them walking out, and Rachel Zegler walks out looking like a giraffe that just learned how to walk with her arms flailing around. I don't know exactly what this was.
She thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress. She should get paid for streaming for every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Not only are you being casted in a classic film to remake it, but you don't seemingly like your own character. So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
What did you think was going to happen when you chose specifically this actress for the job?
I don't need your business.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
So yeah, I think there is a lot of bad blood, specifically between her and her.
Look at me. Sure. Look at me. Sure.
Yeah, I am the Snow White now.
Weird. I know some people like this movie. Some people are stupid. Oops.
Welcome back to Tea Time with Tina. Hollywood has unleashed a scandal so bizarre you'd swear it was ripped from a parody script. Leading the charge in this cinematic circus is none other than Rachel No-Brain Loudmouthed Zegler, formerly known as Disney's Nightmare, and now apparently the world's loudest finger pointer.
She's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
She's on an all-out warpath, blaming her co-star Gal Gadot for Disney's latest box office implosion, Snow White. But wait, there's more. Rumor has it she's also taking jabs at Gadot's acting chops, which is extra ironic for someone who just dragged Gal down with her, who both starred in one of Disney's biggest flops in recent memory.
Zegler delivered the following, and looking back at the presentation of the evil queen, there really needed some work there, and actresses need to understand that this is usually a common result of incompetence and a lack of creativity and focus. You have to actually have all the above to be an astounding actress, especially if you are going to portray someone like the evil queen.
So what's actually going on? Has Rachel Zegler totally lost the plot? Are Disney executives secretly paying for one giant public meltdown to distract us from their bigger problems? And in the midst of all this, how does Gal Gadot, who's basically Wonder Woman in real life, emerge smelling like roses? But before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe, because let's face it, I'm nothing without your support. Now back to the tea. Let's start with a fact so glaring, even Disney executives in Burbank can't deny it. Snow White bombed. We're talking a giant flaming wreck, the kind of financial meltdown that would make an indie filmmaker faint. According to inside sources, the film's box office performance was so dismal it practically crawled into the nearest streaming service, streaming tears of shame rather than confetti.
I just feel like she has this intense hatred for the material that she's working with. She calls it weird.
We know that they are in full-on frantic mode as we speak because Bob Iger, the board of directors, the many executives over there, they are seeing the negative press.
Nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic over the last few weeks.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea. Maybe not destroy a classic from my childhood.
So how did a classic fairy tale, bankrolled by the House of Mouse, become the cinematic equivalent of burnt microwave popcorn? Sure, you could blame the marketing, the script, the shaky creative direction, typical industry jargon. But if you ask Rachel Zegler, it's all because Gal Gadot was apparently so unbearable to work with, she single-handedly torched the film's prospects. That's right, Zegler's pointing fingers faster than a malfunctioning confetti cannon. It's like she's on a mission to pin this fiasco on literally anyone but herself.
Zegler delivered the following. That was another challenge that we had with this production, is that when your co-star is another actress, one tends to lecture the other, and that can just be a distraction to really capture the spirit of Snow White and the evil queen. But there was just a lot of incompetence there. I mean, more often than not, and things could have seriously been more organized to have a more steady production.
Disney's official response? Utter panic. Word has it they accelerated Snow White's digital release to May 13th, hoping to salvage pennies from the couch cushions of streaming subscribers. But let's be real, giving audiences an early chance to see the epic fail might only confirm the rumors. Some viewers called it the blandest Disney reboot ever, and many pinned at least half the blame on Zegler's, shall we say, questionable performance, and a few crazy interviews.
Cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood, baby. Hollywood, baby. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
But Disney's not going down alone. They're frantically trying to deflect blame, possibly toward marketing budgets or unforeseen challenges. Meanwhile, rumors swirl that they're quietly taking Rachel's face off future merchandise faster than you can say, Snow White who? The meltdown is so complete, you can practically hear Mickey Mouse weeping in the distance.
He wouldn't sell! He wouldn't sell!
If you thought the box office meltdown was amusing, wait till you hear how Rachel Zegler's been coping with the fallout. According to some of the more hilarious industry gossip, Zegler's been on what insiders are calling an extended damage control tour, except the only thing getting damaged is her own reputation.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control.
She's telling anyone who'll listen that Gal Gadot was this unstoppable negative force that ruined Snow White, suggesting that Gadot can't act, and brought a truckload of incompetence on set.
I mean, let me just say this. This was a tough production for me. As someone who holds this talent and truly understands acting, I really had to push myself through some serious obstacles. And a lot of that has to do with my co-star, when we really didn't see eye to eye on certain things creatively. I just think that we could have done so much more with this film, and looking back at the presentation of the Evil Queen, there really needed some work there. And actresses need to understand that this is usually a common result of incompetence and a lack of creativity and focus.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Rachel Zegler has apparently anointed herself the final authority on top-tier acting skills. Never mind that Gadot is internationally beloved for her portrayal of Wonder Woman and basically has a legion of fans around the globe. In Zegler's narrative, Gadot practically sabotaged every scene. But here's the kicker. Multiple folks on the production have come forward with whisperings that it was actually Zegler who acted like she was filming an art house flick destined for an Oscar nomination, while everyone else was making a Disney family movie. In other words, she might have been the one derailing the entire production by taking everything way too seriously, and yet somehow she's convinced it's all Gal Gadot's fault because, well, apparently because Zegler says so. If this blame game had a scoreboard, Zegler would be up by 50 accusations and counting.
So one major aspect about why there's a lot of growing issues between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler is that we know that they have a lot of personal problems with each other. We know that there's a lot of politics driven in between there, as well as other personal issues that really rised when it came to creative differences behind the scenes, and also in the public eye they had a lot of problems.
The best part? She's done it all with an air of I am the real professional here, effectively telling Gadot to step aside. For a star who's barely scratched the surface of Hollywood stardom, that's a bold strategy. Some might say it's akin to playing with live fireworks in a match factory. Disney insiders are shaking their heads, probably wishing Zegler would just shush already so they can focus on rebranding this fiasco as a distant memory. Now, let's talk about the folks at Disney HQ. You've got to imagine they're frantically swapping out their usual "be our guest" greeting for something more like, "What in the world just happened?" The meltdown over Snow White wasn't supposed to be this catastrophic. Sure, reboots have faced criticism before, but this might be the gold medal of flops.
Disney's Snow White remake has become the company's worst nightmare. The film has reached a humiliating new low, sealing its place as the worst-rated Disney release of the decade.
In typical Disney fashion, the leadership tried to go into crisis mode. Rumor has it they convened endless meetings discussing how to handle the Zegler fiasco. Reports suggest they considered hooking her up with some PR training or forcibly duct taping her mouth shut. Anything to keep her from stepping on more toes.
Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans, pissing off new Disney fans, pissing off Trump supporters, pissing off all of America. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made.
Ultimately, it looks like they decided it was time to cut her loose from future projects. That means no cameo voice roles in Toy Story 5. No cameo in the rumored Pirates of the Caribbean reboot. Not even a cameo in the background as a singing teapot. Zilch.
They want nothing to do with Rachel Zegler in any of her projects. We already discussed this. She was supposed to be involved as a voiceover actress for Toy Story 5. She was supposed to be one of the side characters in the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean remake. About that, I am very much putting this on the table right now that there's a high chance that this is going to also get canceled.
That's a rough blow for any rising actress. But if you're on Disney's blacklist, the rest of Hollywood starts to notice real fast. Some say the House of Mouse is petty. If they decide you're persona non grata, you might as well audition for community theater in the middle of nowhere. But after Zegler's repeated jabs at Gadot, and by extension, Disney's entire PR apparatus, there's probably no happily ever after left in that relationship. Meanwhile, Disney is also taking flack from fans who question the creative direction of their live-action remakes. Isn't it time they argue to retire these dusty reboots?
Critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means.
And once again, the public has said, we hate your woke bull crap.
About Disney, in which they deconstructed the fact that every Disney movie has now flipped over into just being a woke festival of stupid.
So hopefully this flops so hard that they finally learn their lesson.
Either way, the bottom line is clear. Zegler's once shiny career trajectory is tilting downward like a roller coaster with bad brakes. And Disney's presumably crossing their fingers, hoping the public either forgets or moves on to the next scandal. Knowing the internet, they might not be so lucky. All right, it's time we address the showdown. Rachel Zegler versus Gal Gadot. It's like one of those mismatched wrestling matches where the newcomer storms into the ring, shouting, "I'm the real champion," only for the champ to lift a disinterested eyebrow and proceed to annihilate them with minimal effort. What's absolutely wild is that Zegler's snide remarks about Gadot's acting have done more to damage Zegler's credibility than Gadot's. Why? Because the public, for the most part, actually likes Gal Gadot. She's got charm, star power, and generally keeps her drama off camera. Zegler, on the other hand, seems to be self-imploding in plain sight, openly hurling blame at a co-star who's not even bothering to fight back.
It's the one improvement that I think my co-stars should embrace with other films that they work on in this industry. This is something that I understand, this is something that I value. You have to understand the character, and when you are not into success, it drags you down with others that just don't want to act professionally by bringing in personal issues on set. This is not the best way to handle a major film production, so I think going into other projects, I have learned to really observe whether or not this is the best cast for me when looking for other roles or offers that I get. We had many disagreements, for sure, with this film.
Insiders claim that on set, Zegler was laser-focused on revamping Snow White into some cutting-edge, socially conscious epic, while Gadot was content simply to deliver a fun, campy evil queen performance. I mean, are we seriously going to pretend that Snow White flopped because Gal Gadot dared to bring a whimsical villain vibe to a story about dwarves and a talking mirror? At this point, Zegler's scapegoating so hard that she might as well print out "I blame Gal" t-shirts and wear them on every talk show. Naturally, this public meltdown has turned into a front-row spectacle for the media. Fans are hurling questions left and right. Did Rachel Zegler really say those things about Gadot? Is she reading from some lost diary of envy and desperation? And what kind of black market meltdown tea are the Disney execs chugging behind the scenes to cope with this? In typical fashion, mainstream outlets are treading lightly. Nobody wants to poke the Disney beast too hard. After all, the House of Mouse has more money and influence than a small nation. But that doesn't stop the rumor mill from churning. Some speculate Disney quietly orchestrated some of these leaks to paint Zegler as the villain, which, let's face it, she's been doing a good job of herself. So they could bury any notion that Disney's creative direction was flawed. Others say Zegler alone is responsible for handing them all the ammo they needed. No orchestration required. Meanwhile, watchers with a sense of humor can't help but laugh at the spectacle. Here you have a fairy tale movie that was meant to teach life lessons, now overshadowed by petty finger-pointing and corporate chaos. The entire fiasco is more entertaining than the actual movie. If you're into cringe comedy, that is. For Disney, it's a PR disaster that only intensifies the conversation around whether live-action remakes are a giant waste of time and money. After all, if the film can't stand on its own legs, do we really need a star who deflects blame onto an actress beloved by millions? So where does Rachel Zegler go from here? If you believe the more savage rumors, she's already halfway down a rabbit hole of obscurity, with Disney eager to block her from any future project that might profit from brand synergy. Remember when she was supposedly set to voice a character in Toy Story 5? Yeah, me neither. It's like her name got instantly Thanos snapped out of that conversation. Same goes for any Pirates of the Caribbean reboot cameo. The only project she seems attached to now is some small-time indie flick that might open in 3 theaters and a drive-in somewhere in the Midwest. It's a step down from Disney stardom, that's for sure. Of course, Hollywood is a place of redemption arcs. Maybe Zegler can turn it around if she stops publicly picking fights with more established names. But that would require a measure of restraint that she hasn't displayed thus far. On the bright side, if she does manage to bounce back, maybe with an edgy indie role that wins festival accolades, she'll have a comeback story bigger than the meltdown. Stranger things have happened. But for now, it's safe to say the mainstream studios are probably giving her agent the cold shoulder. Because if there's one thing Hollywood hates, it's an actor who stirs up drama that overshadows the product. When an actress disses someone as universally liked, even if not the best actress in history, as Gal Gadot, it signals a lack of humility that sends red flags flying. So there you have it, a calamitous, comedic train wreck featuring Rachel Zegler in the starring role of Self-Sabotage. co-starring Disney as the hapless studio, and with a cameo by Gal Gadot as the innocent bystander who can't act, according to Zegler. The script practically writes itself, yet here we are, witnessing it unfold in real time. Where does this leave us? Disney limps away from a major flop, licking its wounds and possibly swearing off any mention of Zegler's name in future marketing. Rachel Zegler, meanwhile, is brandishing a metaphorical sledgehammer at her own public image, smashing her reputation to bits while ironically claiming moral high ground. Fans and critics look on with popcorn in hand, thoroughly entertained by a fiasco that's probably more amusing than any behind-the-scenes documentary Disney might produce. And poor Gal Gadot, if she's even aware of these jabs, she's likely too busy diving into new roles and counting her paychecks. With Zegler's meltdown hogging all the negative publicity, Gadot barely has to lift a finger to come out smelling like a rose. Sometimes the best move is no move at all. So is there a grand conspiracy here? A media cover-up protecting Disney or stifling Zegler's side of the story? Possibly. Is it a smear campaign orchestrated by cunning studio heads? Maybe. Or is it just another chapter in the never-ending saga of Hollywood stars who blow up their own careers by pointing fingers when things go wrong? Absolutely. But hey, the real moral of this twisted fairy tale is, if your movie flops like a fish out of water, maybe don't publicly scold your co-star for lacking talent, especially if that co-star is more beloved than you. Chances are, you'll just look petty. And if you're Disney, maybe it's time to stop recycling the same classics and expecting audiences to blindly fork over their wallets. There's no telling what might surface next. Maybe a scathing behind-the-scenes video or a hidden memo from Disney's top brass urging everyone to hush up about the meltdown. Who knows? This story might still have more comedic twists in store. If you're craving more drama, you're in the right place, because as long as Rachel Zegler has a social media account and a desire to vent, we're bound to see more fireworks. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Snow White fiasco, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because if there's anything we've learned, it's that Hollywood drama never sleeps, and neither do we. See you in the next wild ride through Tinseltown, where apparently blaming everyone else is the new normal, and self-awareness is out of stock. Until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed, only on Tea Time with Tina.